The world is no longer moving toward peace, but it is also not rushing into total war. What we are witnessing instead is a quieter, colder phase of global tension, a period defined by calculation rather than chaos, pressure rather than invasion. The United States no longer behaves like a power seeking to directly occupy or openly dominate territories. Large-scale military interventions, once common, have proven costly and unpredictable. In their place, a different method has emerged. Influence without ownership, control without responsibility, presence without permanence. This approach is often framed as stability management. Conflicts are not necessarily resolved, they are contained. Crises are not eliminated, they are regulated. Economic tools, technological leverage, financial access, and strategic partnerships now matter more than boots on the ground. War has not disappeared, it has simply been redesigned. From this perspective, American foreign policy appears increasingly cautious, even restrained. Yet this restraint does not feel like retreat. It feels deliberate. Power is applied indirectly, through systems rather than soldiers, through pressure rather than proclamations. Outcomes are guided, not forced. There is, however, an underlying tension in this model. While it avoids the destruction of open warfare, it normalizes prolonged instability. Societies are left suspended between reform and collapse, order and unrest. Nothing fully breaks, but nothing truly heals either. This creates a strange global atmosphere, one where escalation is always possible, yet rarely allowed to cross a final line. Red lines exist everywhere, but they are invisible, flexible, and constantly renegotiated. The world feels tense, but frozen, alert, but restrained. In this environment, no side openly claims aggression, and no side fully claims innocence. Actions are framed as necessity, not ambition. Decisions are presented as risk management, not dominance. Still, the sense remains that this system benefits those who can afford patience, leverage, and distance from the consequences. This is the stage on which the coming decade will unfold, not a battlefield, but a pressure chamber. And while it may appear calm on the surface, the air is growing heavier. Opposite this system of indirect pressure stands a loose counterweight often described as an alternative bloc. It is not a unified front in the traditional sense, nor does it operate under a single ideology or command. What binds these states together is less a shared vision and more a shared discomfort with a world shaped by one dominant framework. This bloc projects strength through rhetoric, symbolism, and selective displays of power. Military exercises are announced loudly. Strategic partnerships are emphasized. New financial and political mechanisms are proposed as alternatives to existing systems. On the surface, it appears confrontational, even defiant. Yet beneath that surface, fragmentation is evident. Interests diverge. Priorities conflict. Economic realities impose limits that public messaging cannot erase. While cooperation exists, trust is conditional and often transactional. Each actor ultimately calculates risk alone. This is why, despite constant tension, open war remains unlikely. A direct, large-scale conflict would not produce clear winners, only irreversible losses. Economic interdependence, nuclear deterrence, and internal vulnerabilities act as restraints. Escalation is always discussed, but rarely chosen. Instead, competition unfolds in safer arenas: influence campaigns, resource access, regional leverage, and technological positioning. Conflicts appear at the edges. In contested regions, proxy environments, and political fault lines, but are carefully kept below a threshold that would force total confrontation. What emerges is a paradox. The language of resistance grows sharper, but actual actions remain measured. Power is displayed, then pulled back. Lines are approached, then quietly respected. The appearance of readiness for war masks a deeper reluctance to truly begin one. In this balance, instability becomes a shared condition rather than an accident. Each side adapts to it, manages it, and at times even benefits from it. The world is not divided into peace and war, but into zones of pressure where tension is sustained without resolution. This does not mean safety. It means delay. A prolonged holding pattern where conflict is postponed, not prevented, and where the cost is carried slowly, unevenly, and often by those furthest from decision-making tables. What lies ahead is not a sudden collapse, nor a dramatic resolution. The trajectory points instead toward endurance, a world structured to last under tension. Systems are being redesigned not to create harmony, but to absorb stress. Conflict becomes a condition to be managed rather than a problem to be solved. In this model, instability is no longer a failure of policy, it is a feature of it. Regions remain permanently at risk, negotiations remain permanently ongoing, and crises remain permanently unresolved. This creates justification for presence, for leverage, for intervention, without the responsibility of rebuilding what is damaged. Global order, as it takes shape, favors predictability over justice and control over closure. The goal is not peace, but continuity. Not balance, but advantage. Stability is defined narrowly. Markets must function, supply lines must remain open, and disruptions must stay contained. Human cost becomes secondary, abstracted into statistics and strategic language. This is why change feels slow and relief feels temporary. Even when violence pauses, pressure does not. Even when agreements are signed, distrust remains embedded. The world is guided into a long-term holding pattern where escalation is dangerous but stagnation is acceptable. And beneath all the language of security, values, deterrence, and order, there is a quieter constant that rarely leaves the room. Money. At its core, this emerging world order is not driven by ideology or morality, but by capital protection and capital expansion. Wealth must circulate upward. Power must shield profit. New threats are named, new fears are framed, and new justifications are manufactured, all to legitimize actions that would otherwise be indefensible. Interventions are rebranded as safeguards. Pressure is framed as responsibility. Influence is presented as necessity. And in the process, lines that once separated lawful engagement from unlawful intrusion quietly disappear. What emerges is a system willing to bend rules, stretch narratives, and cross borders, not for stability itself, but to preserve an economic hierarchy where the wealthy grow wealthier, insulated from the chaos their systems help sustain. The world is told this is order. But it feels more like maintenance, of power, of profit, of privilege, at any cost.